Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Paul, the Canadian Snowman, back here once again with another awesome Ottoman video. Szigetvar 1566. I know I said that totally wrong, but yes, we just did the Great Siege of Malta, and that was definitely very impressive, definitely entertaining. If you're new to this channel, it's your first video you come across, I definitely recommend, from the start of this series, because a lot of cool content and battles and wars and sieges that we've covered. Very cool stuff. But yeah, we're gonna continue on our journey through the Ottoman wars here, and let's check this out. Before I do, please hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't yet. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you very much. And yeah, let's get to this. All right, play.
From Discover.
All right, here we go.
To an onlooker in 1526, the Ottomans looked unstoppable. In the span of 2 centuries, they had crushed the Byzantine remnants, conquered their rivals in Anatolia.
Yeah, big rivals, the Habsburgs, which I just did the geography now Switzerland video, and it's they actually mentioned them, so I just think it's so cool. My videos kind of overlap at the same time. But anyways,
and swept through Eastern Europe. Egypt, the seat of mighty empires for 6 centuries, was reduced to an Ottoman province. And at Mohács, the Hungarian kingdom that had held them at bay for a century and a half was shattered by Sultan Suleiman. But at Eger and Malta, the Ottomans were turned back, and their struggle with the Austrian Habsburgs over Hungary continued. Today, with the siege of Szigetvar, we will talk about Suleiman's last campaign. Shout out to Magellan TV for sponsoring this video. We've been working with Magellan for a while, and we cannot recommend them enough. Magellan is a new with a subscription to Magellan Ancient History series called The Ottomans and Europe, including new programs are added /Kings and Generals, especially for Kings and Generals viewingless title of King of the increasingly meaningless title of King of Hungary, but was reduced to rulership of Transylvania as his overlord Suleiman's attention again turned to his eastern frontier and to Malta. From the death of his mother in 1559 until the next outbreak of war in 1566, John ruled a kingdom theoretically at peace, but was forced to deal with several revolts among the old Hungarian nobility. The wealthy Melchior Balascia in 1561 defected to the Austrian Emperor Ferdinand, bringing most Hungarian territory outside of Transylvania and the direct Ottoman pashaliks with him. Without Ottoman support, John's attempt to bring Balascia back in line ended in disaster at Hadad in 1562. Ethnic tensions within Hungary also brought about further revolts, while John's conversion to Protestantism fueled court division in staunchly Catholic Hungary. As his vassal's kingdom dealt with this internal strife, the aged and gout-stricken Suleiman assembled his army in 1566, intending to strike again at Eger, this time aiming to seize it before continuing on to Vienna. But with Suleiman now too feeble to personally lead, the real leadership of the army fell into the hands of the ambitious Grand Vizier Sokollu Mehmed Pasha. Leading the local Balkan army was his nephew Mustafa, the Beylerbey of Bosnia.
Interesting.
Mobilization was slow for the massive army that left Constantinople, and after departing on May 1st, it took Suleiman and Sokollu Mehmed Pasha a full 49 days to reach Belgrade, where Suleiman met with Sepoya and promised to bring the whole of Hungary into his vassal's hands. During this,
I guess they gave the Habsburgs plenty of time, to kind of get things together and get organized, because they're taking so long.
Time, Mustafa captured 2 cities, Dvornauni and Krupa, while encountering minimal Habsburg resistance. As Suleiman and his Grand Vizier marched towards Eger, a small Habsburg army, composed mostly of Croatians, struck at Siklos to Suleiman's south, routing an Ottoman army out of Greece. The Hungarian-Croatian army was led by Nikola Zubic Zrinski, a general who had fought with distinction at the Siege of Vienna decades earlier. After his victory at Siklos, he had the Ottoman commander Sanjak Bey Muhammad of Trikala executed. This drew the ire of Suleiman, as Muhammad was a favourite of the Sultan. The insult of this execution, combined with the threat Zrinski posed unchecked in southern Hungary, caused the main Ottoman army to change course to eliminate Zrinski in his base at Szigetvar near Pécs.
Here we go.
Szigetvar was no great prize. While it had foiled minor Ottoman advances in past wars, it held little strategic value for Suleiman's current campaign, especially with the Habsburg army assembling at Vienna. And even before Suleiman arrived at Szigetvar, his diversion was costing the Ottomans, with several cities in northern Hungary falling to the Austrians. But with an army of over 100,000 facing fewer than 3,000 in Szigetvar, Suleiman expected it to be a short siege. Mustafa would serve as both a general and a diplomat, with both Ottoman and Habsburg records remembering him positively. Less beloved was the ambitious Szigetvar, Bey of Szolnok, who marched with Suleiman to Szigetvar. Szigetvar was infamous among the Hungarians as a brutal overlord, among the Austrians as a marauding plunderer, and among his peers in the Ottoman elite as a self-serving careerist with no regard for the laws and treaties of the Sultan. Yet he was able to command unswerving loyalty from his own soldiers, as the coming siege would demonstrate.
Okay.
Suleiman arrived at Szigetvar on the 5th of August 1566. Though lightly manned, its unusual layout made it a difficult fortress to attack.
I was gonna say, like, siege towers don't seem like they're a go. It's like you pretty much have to attack by one of the bridges, and that just creates a whole new set of problems. So wow, this is definitely very, very unique. But then, like, do they have a kind of navy? Like, you can easily cut off supplies. It seems like, as long as you like destroy all the bridges but one, just have one way in and out. I don't know. This is definitely going to be interesting.
It was split into 3 sections: the Old Town, the New Town, and the Citadel, each on a separate island connected only by narrow causeways.
Yeah, so you have your whole army here, and if they take this one, then you go to the next one and put up the wall and then defend here, and if they take that down, you go to the next one. So, like, it could take forever for them to actually take this place because they can just keep falling back. And if they want to take out the bridges so they can't get in, that's also an option, right?
The nearby Almas River fed an artificial lake encircling the 3 fortress islands. Though the scorching summer of 1566 had caused the lake protecting the fortress to become shallower than normal, there was no sign of fear from the defenders, who had decorated the walls with...
Oh, I'm sorry, this is like a man-made lake. I was thinking, like, this is next to, like, by the sea, but it's not. It's a man-made lake, so I guess boats aren't really a thing on here, right? I mean, they could just jump and swim to the shore if need be, right? Anyways, interesting. They say it's pretty shallow right now.
There was no sign of fear from the defenders, who had decorated the walls with bright red cloth as if in celebration. A single cannon was fired to welcome the Ottomans, who began their siege in earnest with an assault on the New Town on August 6th. Despite support from large batteries of Ottoman cannons, the attack was repulsed with heavy losses, and despite having far fewer guns, the defenders were able to carry out an effective counter-barrage against the Ottoman cannons.
I'm sorry, this has nothing to do with this battle, but obviously this is no strategic spot, and they're giving up a lot of land, to Austria, since they're being bogged down here. Doesn't it make more sense just to kind of leave, like, as part of your army here, just to keep an eye on things here, and keep them enclosed in here, and just continue on the rest of your campaign, and just not waste your time here? Or is it just one of those things? Get these guys out of the way so we're not get flanked from behind later on in our campaign. I guess either way.
But in the face of overwhelming Ottoman numbers, this victory was short-lived. Under the aggressive guidance of Szigetvar Bey, the Ottomans launched another fierce attack on August 9th, capturing the New Town. The first of the 3 island forts was now in Ottoman hands, but at great cost. Between the 2 assaults, Suleiman's army suffered more than 3,000 casualties, compared to 300 losses for Zrinski's Croat and Hungarian army, which withdrew in good order to the Old Town. The Old Town was a more difficult prize, well defended and difficult to approach. But Szigetvar had little patience for anything but constant offensives. After 10 assaults in 10 days, the Old Town fell as well on August 19th. With only the citadel left and Zrinski's men dwindling, the sickly Suleiman offered favourable terms of surrender in the hopes of avoiding any further lost time. If Zrinski would turn over the citadel, he would be made Lord of all Croatia under Ottoman vassalage. In the early stages of the siege, Zrinski had been hoping for Austrian reinforcements from the Imperial army at Vienna. By the time Suleiman's offer was made, it was clear to the defenders that no help was coming. But despite the seemingly hopeless position he was in, Zrinski ignored the offer and gave no response to the Ottomans, choosing instead to fight to the last. Sokolu Mehmed Pasha, a native of Herzegovina himself, also attempted to bypass Zrinski and sway the defending soldiers directly. Letters in Croatian and Hungarian were fired into the castle walls with arrows, promising to spare the defenders if they allowed the Ottomans entry. This effort was met with no more success. Unbeknownst to either Suleiman or Mehmed, Zrinski had on the first day of the siege sworn before his soldiers to defend Szigetvar to his last breath, and threatened the execution of any soldier who neglected his duties or conspired with the Ottomans.
Yes, he was backed in the corner either way. There's he couldn't accept that, or else he loses face with his men, and his men probably kill him. And then the soldiers are unless they all agreed, they were going to get executed. In which obviously all of them are not going to agree. And as soon as one voices their opinion, maybe they're going to get killed by his fellow soldiers. So yeah, they're fighting to the last man. So do they hold up? I can't see it. I can't see it happening. So that's pretty much how many men do they take down with them in this siege.
Ottomans wanted a soldier who neglected his duties or conspired with the Ottomans. If the Ottomans wanted Szigetvar, they would have to take it by force.
Yeah.
Taking advantage of the shallower water, the Ottoman army used debris to build their own causeways to open up further points of assault. And true to form, Szigetvar Bey launched several more direct assaults supported by heavy cannon fire. The first assault on the citadel was a failure, as was the second, launched on August 29th, the anniversary of the Battle of Mohacs. Despite Szigetvar's confident assertion to Suleiman that the auspicious day would bring them their victory, the Ottomans remained unable to enter the citadel. After another failure on September 1st, nearly a month after the siege began.
I mean, I think I was going to say, it seems so silly. It's like you're sending men to their death, and this is just a very small, piece of the bigger picture. Like, these men, you need these men, and just send them all to their death at this point. I would say it seems foolish, but I don't know, how big this battle is on, this could be huge. This has to get done. For all I know, I'm just, backseat driver here, just giving his, bad opinion here. But I don't know. It always seems like it's crazy when you just keep sending men to their death. Obviously, you don't really send them to their death because you're making some leeway, but this isn't the final outcome you're looking for. You have a lot more down the line, a lot more places to go to conquer. I mean, if this was be all end all right here, then yeah, it makes sense, but it's not. I don't know.
After another failure on September 1st, nearly a month after the siege began, the relentless Ottoman attacks ceased. For the next few days, they held their positions in the Old Town, leaving the scant 600 remaining defenders to wonder when the hammer would drop. 4 days later, on September 5th, the Ottoman sappers fired a mine they'd dug over the past 2 weeks. A massive explosion destroyed a corner of the wall, creating a massive breach and setting many of the buildings inside ablaze. Zrinski knew the end was near, as an Ottoman attack through the breach could come at any moment and would be impossible for his depleted force to fend off. But to Zrinski's surprise, no attack came on September 5th or 6th. Despite the opening, the Ottoman army continued to hold its position. To the rank-and-file Ottoman soldiers, the delay was just as much a mystery. Only Sokollu Mehmet Pasha and a close inner circle knew the true reason for the delay. Suleiman the Magnificent had died in his tent, aged 72, but out of concern that news of Suleiman's death might undermine morale, Mehmet kept it secret for 48 days, even having the Sultan's personal physician strangled.
Wow.
As the army was brought back to order on September 7th for the final attack, Zrinski readied his men for a sortie, unwilling to let the final battle be on Ottoman terms. After a stirring speech to his troops, Zrinski had the fortress door thrown open and a large mortar fired into the Ottoman troops massed on the causeway in preparation for the final assault. With the ranks of Janissaries thrown into chaos, Zrinski led his remaining soldiers in a headlong charge against the enemy, taking the causeway before being enveloped by the thousands of Janissaries in the old town. Zrinski himself was hit by 2 bullets and killed as the charge began, but the men he'd led fought to the last.
Wow.
With the defenders...
Man, they fought like heroes, dude. They were gonna die anyway, and instead of sitting there waiting for your death, yeah, if you go out on your terms, I guess you're more likely to take a lot more men with you, and that's exactly what they did, man. How many men did they take out total in this battle? Like 5,000 to like their, few hundred. That was about 600 there, so it would have been like 1,000 men to like, 5,000-6,000. I'm sure they'll give us the numbers later, but wow. So well, obviously, this battle's over and the siege is over, but man, you got to think that's a big win for or a big loss for the Ottomans. They just lost too much men, too much time, and yeah.
Gone, the Ottomans stormed into the battered citadel. Szigetvar Bey, after being brought to Zrinski's body, had it beheaded, with the head sent...
Well, yeah, I didn't even say anything about Suleiman dying. I mean, I guess that makes perfect sense. You don't want the morale of your people dead, and you don't want that information getting to your enemies. But yeah, it definitely seemed kind of odd, even in that situation. Once that wall goes down, you send your troops in before they can kind of counterattack or build, fix that wall or something like that. So that was, yeah, definitely a mystery on both sides right there, obviously. But wow, you got a big shift here now. We got someone new in power.
To Sultan, after being brought to Zrinski's body, had it beheaded, with the head sent to Sultan Selim as a trophy. The Ottomans had not seen the end of Zrinski's resistance though, and shortly after the Turks entered the citadel, the powder magazine exploded, killing 3,000 more after a siege that had already cost them upwards of 20,000 for little tangible gain.
Wow. 20?
After Szigetvar's fall, despite the path to Vienna lying open, the Ottoman army's advance stopped. Winter was close upon them. The casualties suffered taking Szigetvar had been in the tens of thousands, and Suleiman's death had shaken the Ottoman Empire to its core. Szigetvar would be the only major Ottoman victory in the campaign Suleiman had intended to finally unify Hungary under Turkish rule. With his nephew Sokollu Mustafa Pasha serving...
Well, it makes sense. You're not going to go to Vienna. You just lost 20,000 in a battle that wasn't supposed to be that big of a battle. It should have been an easy win. And when you go to Vienna, you've already been there, but that's not going to be no easy battle. You're probably going to lose even more than that. You just lost all the men that you would have needed to take Vienna. So it's, obvious that, quit now before you actually, get destroyed. I mean, you won, but like as far as the bigger picture of the war, that was like a big L they just took.
A as a diplomat, Sokollu Mehmed Pasha negotiated the Treaty of Adrianople with the Habsburgs on February 17, 1568, with Emperor Maximilian paying 30,000 ducats to Selim and granting the Ottomans authority over Transylvania, Moldavia and Wallachia. Yet the cultural significance of the battle was far greater than its political or military impact. Suleiman's internal organs were buried where he had fallen, and an ornate tomb was built over the site. For the Christians, Szigetvar became synonymous with resistance, so much so that Cardinal Richelieu would later declare it the battle that saved civilization. In both Hungary and Croatia, Zrinski became a national hero, and the siege was immortalized in epic poems in both languages. 3 centuries later, the memory of Szigetvar would even be used by Croatian nationalists as a symbol of resistance against the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Our series on the Ottoman Wars will continue with a video on the Battle of Lepanto, so make sure you are subscribed.
Yeah, Zrinski, man, he went down like a hero. I can definitely obviously see why he's so huge. And like, he didn't waver. Like, he was going down with the shit before the battle even started. They pretty much knew what they were up against, and even after they knew the help wasn't gonna arrive, they stuck to their guns and they fought to the last man. So props to them. Do I think they actually saved everything from that battle? I really don't think so. I think Vienna wouldn't have fallen. I think there would have been more issues down the line, and I don't think the Ottomans would have succeeded in taking everything. I think they would have had some more victories though, but I don't think I think taking Vienna was like their end game, and I don't really think that would have happened anyway. But yeah, this definitely kind of just stopped any kind of forward progress they would have had, if this wasn't an issue. I don't know if any of that made sense, but because I don't even think it made any sense. But anyways, let me know your thoughts below. Appreciate you guys watching and following along with me. Definitely another great siege where, like, they had the 3 parts in that castle, fort, whatever. Definitely those weird castles always make for interesting videos and interesting outcomes. Excuse me. And yeah, very cool stuff. And yeah, like and subscribe, please. Catch you guys in future videos, and we'll continue along with the Ottoman Wars. Peace, guys. Have a good night.